Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me once again on a Saturday afternoon. It's a very rainy afternoon, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are feeling gloomy. But, we're here to help you out. We're here to keep you company. And we have a very interesting topic this afternoon. And, well, the topic, as you can see, is called Flex Appeal. And it's a play on words because we want to talk about the importance of strength and conditioning for athletes, especially endurance athletes. Kasi alam ko most of you who are watching are triathletes, runners, or cyclists. And a lot of people have been asking me if they should be doing strength and conditioning, lifting weights. Maraming concerns na naririnig such as babagal ba sila, bibigat ba sila, masyado ba silang macho, if especially for the girls. And that's something that we're going to be talking about now that we have a very special guest or two very special guests this afternoon. So the first one is a very good friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for more than 5 years already. He's the CEO of Sante International. If you're not familiar with Sante International or Sante Bardi, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. So here he is, Sir Joey Marcelo. Of course, he's an Ironman triathlete. He's a businessman. He's a family man. So he's able to balance his life. Is able to wear a lot of hats, and we're gonna talk about how he's able to do it. Um, so yeah, Sir Joey, good afternoon, and nice to see you after maybe
Bro, we wish you, bro. Tagal na nating huling nakita, no? To be part of your show and, of course, to talk to you, okay? We've been, of course, together for how many years already, and so ilang months na tayo hindi nagkasama because of this pandemic. So, it's
yeah.
to be your program.
To give some people some introduction, when I was maybe a new or an triathlete to starting out, I would say hindi pa naman ako at that same level where I am now. Not that I'm sobrang taas ko na elite athlete or whatever, pero I was basically a nobody then. When I joined Sante Barley, they were one of the first people who really welcomed me and made me feel at home. So that's how I was able to flourish as an athlete. So, a big tip for everyone: surround yourself with people who believe in you, and you can really achieve a lot of things. Now, going back to what happened this year, pretty sure nobody needs any introduction or any briefing about what has been happening. Pero ang dami natin sanang plano. We were supposed to race, a full Ironman, 70.3s. Marami tayong trips abroad na hindi natuloy, not to mention trips locally. And, well, it happened. There's nothing really what we can do about it. But at the same time, let's talk a little bit about what Sante has been up to these past few months. So when Sante started out, how many years ago was Sante when it first became a company?
Well, Sante right now is a 13-year-old company. Matagal na rin tayo doon. We've started year 2007 as a company distributing. Of course, barley grass is our flagship product, but our objective during those times is to be an authority when it comes to wellness. So 2007 is the day we birthed Sante International. Okay, so our main product, of course, is alam ng marami is the Sante barley grass. Okay, but we have other food supplements also. The objective of the company is to be a global provider of premier wellness products and services. So we started year 2007 as a company marketing products via direct selling. Okay, that's when we started. Tagal na rin, 13 years, ano? Could you imagine? Kahit ako,
sobrang tagal niya na to the point that when you look back, 13 years ago, wala naman masyadong emphasis on health and wellness eh. Ano yun, di ba? Parang diyan pa na nagsa-starting running. That most people, when you ask about sports, ang alam lang talaga nila na sport, not to downplay it or anything, but basketball, diba? Wala pa masyadong other sports like football, volleyball, diba? More so triathlon. Triathlon, I think during that time, parang pag nakita kang tumatakbo sa init or nagbabike sa init, medyo napapaisip sila parang ano bang ginagawa nito. But,
so there are a handful of people who knows triathlon. In fact, like ako on my end, tama ka, I agree with you, Don. When we talk about Filipinos, we're more on the basketball, di ba? Soccer, di ba? Running, yes, kasi matagal na naman si Milo Marathon. Milo, di ba, matagal na rin sa in running. Pero during our early days, I agree with you. It's the basic sports. Pero when we started Sante 2007, ang nangyari kasing transition doon is this. When we started 2007, we were known as a company for people who are sick. Kasi ang mga testimonials ng Sante are people na gumaling with these illnesses, ganyan. E dumating yung time na realize natin that, we're not only a company for people who are sick. So we decided, why not shift into sports and wellness, okay? And that's the time, I think it's 2012, when we decided to set up our own triathlon team. In fact, it's not actually a team. I just decided because I can see yung brand na Ironman and I wanted to learn how to do triathlon. So sabi ko, register akong Ironman. And that's the reason why 2012, sabi ko sa mga konting friends ko na, let's form a team. Ang hirap mag-race ng Ironman without a uniform. Sabi ko, let's just form a team. I'll just use our brand, yung Sante Barley, and then yun lang, pagawa lang tayong uniform. And that's where we birthed the Sante Barley Triathlon team, and we decided, let's venture into sports na. So doon nag-shift yun from a company for sick people to a company that's promoting health and wellness.
Tama ka, no? I always mention this, but when I started out being a triathlete or getting into running, it was around 2008, 2009. Medyo mahirap maghanap ng kasama, especially sa mga rides, kasi not everyone would have access to a bike, or not everyone more so would be comfortable riding out in the well, hindi naman sa Metro Manila, pero around the city of Metro Manila, diba? So when we started out kasi when I went into the team, medyo parang na ako, I think I was the second or third batch na of triathletes. Nauna sa akin sina Mervin, diba? Sina Ayan, etc. But yun nga, parang the nice thing about representing a team such as Sante is that the products are really something that you could use not only as an athlete but also for health and wellness. Kasi one thing that I learned as an athlete, especially as a coach, is that yes, we can take all these supplements, all these vitamins, etc. Pero iba pa rin kasi yung galing sa natural sources because kasi our body would more readily absorb it. Of course, people would make the argument, just eat proper, or eat regular barley na fresh, ganun. Pero again, we don't really have access to that on a regular basis. So the nice thing about the products that I've been using, especially yung powdered barley, is that not only does it taste good, it's also something that I really feel makes a difference when it comes to recovery. Now, the nice thing about Sante as well is that yun na notice ko over the years is that it's constantly evolving, especially with the products that it has been putting out. Nagulat ako, like, I think it was 3 years ago, meron na tayong barley na may protein, diba? Yung choco barley, tapos may konting protein siya. Meron tayong toothpaste, may soap. Yung soap sa totoo lang, ginagamit ko palagi after swimming kasi may may parang soothing effect siya for me, diba? Parang goat's milk ba siya, ganon. So pag medyo sunog-sunog ka, masarap talaga sa skin. Yun. So let's talk about how Sante has been keeping up with the pandemic. Kasi a lot of companies have actually been suffering. Of course, everyone's been suffering. But I'd say, based on what I see, mas maraming na nakikinabang ngayon sa Sante because of how there is an emphasis now on being healthier and being better in terms of well-being, diba? So let's talk a little bit about how kamusta yung company, kamusta yung sales, diba?
We're so blessed right now during this times of pandemic. Well, number one, we have essential products. Okay, we have barley, and for the past several years, we've been hitting our target year after year because of the beauty of our products. Okay, we're blessed to be in partnership with a New Zealand company. But in fact, right now, Sante owns a manufacturing facility in New Zealand. So quality-wise of our product, it's one of the best in the world. During these times of pandemic, people are spending for essential products. Yun, di ba? People ang malungkot lang talaga, sabi nga nila, during these times, cash is king. So you have to be careful in spending your money. And since our product really promotes health and wellness, and we don't want to promise this, but of course, our product helps boost the immune system of people. So talagang during these times of pandemic, kailangan yung produkto. Pero one thing that Sante created for the past 2 or 3 or 4 years already is the avenue of using digital marketing or social media to promote our product. In fact, what happened, nung nag-COVID tayo, syempre everyone cannot go out of their houses. Most of the distributors of Sante, not only in the Philippines but all over the globe, are already marketing products online. So walang nabago sa system ng Sante except one thing. We cannot do presentations live in our offices kasi in Sante, we do a bit, product presentations in training centers all over the globe. Pero right now, without that, it's impossible, di ba? Pero ang pivot na ginawa ng Sante, obviously, is we went into the online. We are using Zoom call to do presentations. That's the only pivot na ginawa ng Sante. Pero all others, yung product purchases lahat, ginagawa na namin yan for the past 2 to 3 years. So we didn't only survive during this crisis, but we managed to thrive. In fact, well, of course, it's hard to talk about this when in front of friends who are suffering because their business are not doing good during these times. Pero it's a blessing in disguise because this 2020 happens to be the biggest year of Sante. We've been hitting record-breaking sales. Okay. Anyway, Don, aside kasi dun sa product na binibenta natin for marketing quality products all over the globe, one of the advantages of our business is where we have a business opportunity. We're into direct selling. So most of our distributors, whenever they promote the product, of course, there's earning involved. And during these times of crisis, maraming tao talagang kailangan kumita. And siguro what we're doing right now is capitalizing with advantage of building the business online, diba? E-commerce, those are the buzzwords, diba? During these times, e-commerce, digital marketing, social media marketing. So our distributors are capitalizing on those technology, and that's the reason why even merong crisis, they were able to sell our products and they were able to earn good amount of money to at least to survive and to support their family during this time. So we didn't only survive, Don, but we managed to thrive and gain momentum. And we're expecting that this year will not only be a record-breaking year, but will be a preparation for a much bigger 2021.
Actually, that's the nice thing about Sante, kasi what I learned during this pandemic is mahirap talaga magsarili. Dapat talaga tulungan kasi sabi nga, diba, we heal as one. And I think that's a very resounding and a very relatable thing. A lot of companies have been suffering, pero the best way for the company itself to flourish is, of course, to help other people then. And that's the nice thing about the brand right now. Medyo nalihis tayo sa talk, pero I think it's a very important thing to talk about this right now kasi a lot of people have been dealing with stress about, let's say, losing their jobs or not having enough opportunities the same way that they were having opportunities before. So marami nagsabi, we have this word, you mentioned it, in pivot. And what really is a pivot? Pivot is basically finding another means or another way or, changing your path. Kasi right now, if you try and, continue up the same road that you were doing before, probably you're gonna end up on a dead end. But thanks to things like this, at least kahit paano medyo makakabawi ka, if not even earn more than what you were dealing with earlier before. So I just really had to put that out kasi ako personally, I've been using the products. Pag ginagamit ko pa lang, marami na rin nagtatanong about it. And that's, I guess, the easiest way to get people on board. If you really use the products, if you really believe in the products, medyo madali na lang, diba? Mag-convince ng tao na okay to. Versus if you're just, gusto mo lang ibenta dahil gusto mo kumita, hindi yung tatagal. Kasi, again, the testimonials speak to you.
One thing, Don, about Sante, again, we're already a 13-year-old company. We are never a hard sell company. Alam mo yung talagang a company that promised heaven and earth is for people to buy our product. And siguro, admittedly, the reason why we're still here right now and we're growing big is because of the testimonies of people about the product. I don't want to mention or to tell all of those stories right now, but it's what people tells about the product that really makes the product work. Alam mo, kahit kami nagugulat din. And siguro ganito na lang, ako I consider barley grass, specifically Sante barley grass, as a blessing in disguise. There's a divine intervention here. It's not about us. It's not about us as being owners of the company, but it's really about the power of the product to help a lot of people. And siguro for the past 13 years, yun nangyayari. It's a testimony of people not only being healed by the product, pero people na nababago yung buhay because of the company. And again, one thing about Sante, we're not a hard sell type of a company. We're just here telling real stories of real people. Okay, not only surviving but thriving with or without crisis. That's the tagline of Sante pala ngayon. Ha? Crisis or no crisis, the grass is greener with Sante Barley. Ako, that's just my support distributors.
Yeah. Again, the reason why I really wanted to discuss this is because yung nga parang malaki talagang tulong for me. The not the product itself, and of course the I guess the company behind it na rin. It's really something that I think a lot of people should be more aware of or should know. Siguro ano if people are more interested about it, let's I could post the link to the website. And again, ano, it's very easy. If you have any questions about it, you can ask any of us. You can ask me, or again, may mga ano naman tayo, may mga channels tayo wherein people can inquire about the products. At saka yung maganda pala yun sa Sante is, na-notice ko, whenever we attend the unang salvo ng Sante, talagang iba-ibang countries nang gagaling, non-Filipinos, South Africa, ano pa ba mga countries yung malalakas ngayon? East,
right, we are already open in 8 countries. Siguro to name all of them, we have UAE, Qatar, Nigeria, Hong Kong, Singapore, Macau, Cyprus. We're about to open Bulgaria, Ghana, and Bahrain either this year or sometime next year. So we're already in 8 countries minimum and turning 11 siguro by next year. And we're growing. And we're happy to see that. And of course, ang nabibless dyan are the Filipinos who are bringing the business outside. So they're benefiting from it also. So we're happy. Yeah, we're happy with that.
All right. So let's moving forward. Now, Sante is not just a brand about products, right? Meron din tayong services involved. So one of the services that we do have is, of course, the Sante Fitness Lab. When it started out, it was Sims, yung Sante Impact System in Ortigas. So now that we have a different venue, which is in Bacoor, Cavite, let's talk a little bit about that. So, of course, it's been one of the I guess na malaki yung impact because of the ECQ and even the GCQ recently, kasi gyms are not allowed to operate. Pero based on what I see, kahit paano they're trying to adapt to the new normal by giving out yung online group classes and of course online coaching when it comes to strength and conditioning. Now, siguro for us to transition, I guess the best way to talk about to bring the Sante Fitness Lab topic in is by bringing in Clarice. Clarice, so welcome to the live stream. Dapat kasi si Jack, but Jack has had some technical difficulties right now, and we're more than blessed to have you. So yun, Clarice, welcome. Hi. And kumusta ka?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me on your show. Actually, I think we can still have like on audio questions about strength and conditioning and about injury. But thank you for that. So, continuing din sa na-discuss ni Sir Louie, our CEO then for Sante Fitness Lab. So, Sante Fitness Lab actually is the fulfillment of the vision of Sante to provide premier services. So, ang focus naman namin is on fitness and sports performance training. Also, physical therapy and nutrition. So, we are located actually inside another premium sports facility, which is the Ayala Vermosa Sports Hub. Though right now, of course, dahil pandemic, isa rin to sa mga naging affected. But what we did naman to adapt is that we, as you mentioned, we've offered online services. And yun nga, great news. By Monday, we'll be opening again our doors. So we can be able to provide the services, the expert services ng online and both on-site. So, ang
Okay.
aming... Yes, okay.
Sige, go ahead. So, ganito, the recent, siguro 6 months or so, obviously, the gym hasn't been operating, right? medyo closed kasi, di ba, lahat ng gym? Tama ba?
Yes, actually. That was very challenging for us, but naging optimistic na lang kami and we adapted na, okay, this is something new for us. This is also something new din for everybody, di ba, na doing everything online. Pero that doesn't mean naman na kahit may pandemic, dapat na maging sedentary tayo, di ba? Dapat ituloy natin. Especially for the athletes, di ba? Ang hirap na yung pinaghihirapan nating i-training. Although wala rin tayong races ngayon na pinaghahandaan, right? Kailangan pa rin na na-maintain natin yung certain level of fitness natin. Hindi man natin siya naiangat ng todo kasi kailangan din na, syempre for health reasons, masyadong pwedeng i-push yung sarili mo, diba? Pero kailangan mo pa rin ituloy. Kailangan pa rin there's certain level of fitness you have to maintain.
Actually, that's the thing that I really want to emphasize, especially for a lot of my athletes. Lagi kong sinasabi na, yes, we don't have races right now, but if you stop training, if you stop taking care of yourself, once may race na dyan, mahirap bumalik, di ba? Kasi if you're used to, exercising, you're used to biking, running, etc., and you stop, hindi lang naman back to zero yan. Usually, mag-negative ka pa. So, and the problem is, once nagkaroon ng race, yung mga tao gigil kagad ulit. So, dito nangyayari yung injuries and yung mga, all the other problems that we encounter such as burnout. Kasi, iba na yung yung mentally, nandun, akala pa rin natin, ganito yung kaya natin. Pero dahil hindi na ready yung body natin, ang nangyayari, yung katawan natin nabibigla. So that's actually what we want to talk about now. So, kasi may personal experience about strength and conditioning is something that I always share with a lot of people. Kasi ako, again, I wasn't an athlete for maybe the first 21 years of my life. As in talagang walang sport at all. And like ikaw, di ba, volleyball player ka? You're one of the parang top recruits of UP. Bakit? Wag din natin sabihin year. Basta one of the top recruits ng UP before volleyball was as big as it is now. But nonetheless, it's even before it was already playing at a high level, diba? So I'm pretty sure kayo as volleyball players, you already know the importance of strength and conditioning. But for a lot of us na wanna be athlete late in our life, late bloomers, etc., strength and conditioning is something that we often confuse with bodybuilding, with pagpapalaki or pagpapapayat, at yun lang yung reason why you're doing this. So let's pag-usapan natin konti. Siguro I think Jack is in the stream right now. Wala lang siyang video, pero
Yes,
can we bring him in please? Kasi at siya talaga yung yung resource person natin for things like this. Sige, Jack. Just join us. Ayun. Finally. Wait, wala kang audio, Jack. Baka naka-mute ka pa.
Can you hear me now?
Yup, yan. Perfect.
All right.
Thanks for joining
I'm very
us,
sorry
Jack.
for so much delays that I have.
Yung
I have
situation
to blame it to the weather, but of course, we have to find ways to make sure that we can help the people that are watching us right now, especially to the people who are into endurance sports, into running, into swimming, into biking. And I hope that whatever that I'd be able to share here will be able to help them despite the situation that we have right now, the pandemic,
Sorry, Jack. Mukhang napasaba ka yata sa ulan. Kaya just to make this live stream work.
Yep.
Tama ba? So we were very, again, we're very,
Yes,
very
of
thankful
course.
for this
Pero
effort.
of course yan, yun na, naayos naman na natin. And I hope that I can contribute to today's discussion.
Mm.
My voice is clear naman right now and my video is
Yeah,
okay.
it's perfect. It's perfect.
All
So
right.
again, going back to the topic. So una natin pag-usapan yung strength and conditioning. As an athlete, ako, this is really speaking from experience. The best seasons I've had, um, I really put an emphasis on at least man lang starting out with proper strength and conditioning. Kasi one thing I guess not a lot of people know is that training should have some sort of periodization. When you say periodization, medyo may konting
Mhm.
pagbabago siya. You can't keep doing the same thing early in the season and when your race or your main race is near, especially during the off season, but you can't keep doing the same thing or having the same approach.
Mhm. Yep,
Now,
yep.
ako kasi, yun nangyari sa akin as an athlete. Marami akong, early in my career, I'd say matibay na ako as an athlete. I'm
Mhm.
flat-footed. I don't really have perfect coordination or perfect technique, especially in running. That being
Mhm.
said, I'm still pretty resilient when it comes to injuries, but I've had my fair share of injuries. You know,
Mhm.
uh, when you talk about plantar fasciitis, calf strain, yung peroneal calf ko, ilang
Mhm.
beses ko na-strain. ITB, I've
Mhm.
suffered from ITB. I've had a strained
Mhm.
back kasi na-pull ko siya. So all these things, when I look at it, it could have been easily prevented. Kasi based sa mga diagnosis ng mga PT ko or mga doctors ko
Yep.
before, is
Mhm.
that meron kasi akong mga imbalance na hindi ko nalaman. Kasi syempre, ang hirap
Mhm.
makita when you're running, hindi ka naman pag tumingin sa baba
Mhm.
or pag tinignan mo yung sarili mo sa mirror, it's something that you can easily point out or easily, you know,
Mhm.
um, identify. Now,
Yep.
siguro, for us to talk a little bit more about strength conditioning, first, let's talk about how important is it for you as
All
a
right.
performance physical therapist.
Yep.
Hindi ko yung regular physical therapist na pag may injury, ikaw yung pupunta. Pero of course, you still do that. You're more focused on helping people perform at their best. So how important is
Mhm.
it, especially for endurance athletes?
All right. Okay. So actually it's a technically it's an into not really a new practice, but we just put the right words into what technically physical therapists like me are doing. So with Sante Fitness Lab, the the unique thing about us is that we are able to help people in what we call a spectrum of performance. So what when we say spectrum of performance is, so imagine yourself, you are in this ruler on a scale. So there is this injury side and there is this elite performance side. So we're on the right side of the spectrum is the elite performance. I think you are somewhere in that. Don't know. You're on the elite performance. But for let's admit that though you're onto the level already, diba? All right.
Competitive,
So
competitive.
um but what we for performance physical therapy, we are trying, lalo with Sandy Fitness Lab, we are trying to help people, irregardless where you are in the spectrum. Whether na-injury ka pa lang, the sportsman ka, or maybe hindi ka talaga sportsman, you're just somewhere sedentary, or somewhere starting out na recreational into a sport. That's where this practice comes from. Now we want to able to help them as a single as someone who knows you from the injury side to the elite performance side. Now, let's get back to the strength and conditioning part. That is really important for mga endurance people, endurance sports people, sportsmen. So, it's always been parang sinasabi na luxury ang sports, ang strength and conditioning. For some, they are thinking na it's just an additional thing that I should be doing, for elite sportsmen lang yan, for ano siya. But technically, let's to simplify things for people who are listening to us right now, irregardless of your fitness background, irregardless kung ano pa yung performance experience mo, strength and conditioning technically is parallel. It lies side by side to what you are doing already in your sports training. Paano nangyayari yon? Because of these two main benefits. The two main benefits of strength and conditioning. Number one is it betters your sports performance. Alright? So, doon na nagkakatalo. Pag pumasok ka na dun sa endurance sports, ano makakatulong sa akin? It makes me bulky. Paano nakakatulong sa akin yun? It makes me slower. It makes me feel heavier. Diba? Later, we'll delve into that. But the other benefit of strength and conditioning is that it makes sure that there's a lesser injury that may happen to you in the future. How does that happen? Sa madaling sabi, you are harder to have injuries if you are stronger. All right. If you are stronger, if you are well conditioned, if you are well trained in parallel to what you are doing already in your sport, that makes you have lesser injury, have lesser risk to injury. So that alone makes a sportsman have better longevity in sports, have better performance in sports, and have lesser risk of having injuries. All right. So technically, hindi dapat napapabayaan ang strength and condition. As for some or for most people right now are thinking, for example, conservative coaches, they were thinking na baka hindi masyado kailangan ng strength and conditioning. But sadly, that is what despite the modern technology we have right now, yun ganun pa rin ang naiisip. But that's what we're trying to educate people, especially with this talk that we have right now.
All right, so going ano, para sa akin kasi it's something that, I'm pretty aware of kasi again, it's something that I have been doing for the longest time. Talagang walang season na hindi ako mag at least magbibigay ng emphasis sa strength and conditioning. But let's siguro if there are people watching who want to learn about how do I get started. So syempre, it's not something na kuha akong program sa internet, download ako ng ganito, gawin ko. It's not that simple. So can we talk a little bit about the process in which you guys, I guess, give recommendations when it comes to strength and conditioning? So how do you start out? Siguro let's also put into context the times now. Kasi syempre, hindi na pareho yung ginagawa natin before na.
Yes, exactly.
Punta tayo sa gym, group workout, etc. Hindi na ganun eh. So, let's talk a little bit how people can get started during this time. Ano ba yung pwede natin gawin?
Yeah. All right. So, as always, when we are starting into sport or when we are starting to find a coach, right? No, syempre, when you enter into strength and conditioning, you find, number one, the right person. All right? The right person, the right professional to help you to number two, to identify what goal you are into. All right? Kasi once you speak to a professional, once you speak to your coach, or once you have decided for yourself, ano bang gusto ko maging direction for having started strength and conditioning? Am I just a recreational athlete? Am I focusing on amateur performances? Or maybe I'm eyeing to become an elite performer, mga SEA Games level, mga Olympic level, if that's really the goal, the long-term goal for doing strength and conditioning. That's the first step. You must decide for yourself. What's my direction for finding strength and conditioning? Where am I right now in my sport? All right. Is it the right time that I can start? So if you start questioning that is already the right time to start strength and conditioning. All right. So how do you start with that? Of course, you find the right professional. Yeah, you talk to coaches, to the right coaches. If you have the strength, for example, for runners, for marathoners, for triathlon people, if they have coach like you, then that is the right person to ask, coach, with my performance right now, can you tell me, can you link me to a strength and conditioning coach? That enters already the picture. That's how you start. A proper recommendation, a proper knowledge. Ano ba talaga ang strength and conditioning? All right, now that's clear. Of course, you're facing now a strength and conditioning coach. Okay? And then the strength and conditioning coach they will discuss sa iyo kung ano ba ang track mo. How you will, definitely the goal setting would not be hindi sa akin. Kasi I can always tell you, I want to get you stronger, I want you to become faster, this and that, I want you to become powerful. But then, if that doesn't fall to your objective for yourself in your sport, that will not materialize. All right? So, that's the second step. Mag-i-interview tayo. We will have the assessment. How's your strength right now? How's your mobility right now? How's your conditioning right now? And of course, me as your strength conditioning coach, I will talk to your sports coach, all right? To your triathlon coach, to your marathon, to your running coach na, coach, this is the problem of your, this is what I see to your athlete, this is what I see to your athlete, and so on and so forth. So, ibabalance natin yung training ng sports and strength and conditioning because I cannot go further than what probably you should be doing. Kasi baka masagasaan ko naman yung ginagawa ng sports coach mo. 'Di ba? Or maybe your sports coach will have different idea or hindi kayo align ng way of thinking na hindi pala naniniwala sa strength and conditioning yung sports coach mo, 'di ba? Or maybe the sports coach will be blaming you, most of the blaming the SNC coach na kaya ka na injured dahil kay strength and conditioning coach mo. Kaya ka na get. So it happens. I'm sorry, I'm just sharing it to you. The pathway, 'di ba? So kapag may nakausap ka na ng strength conditioning coach, si coach mo naman next will talk to your sports coach na itong gusto natin mangyari sa kanya. All the center of the plan is you. Not my goal, not your sports coach goal, but you. To make sure that what the program that we are doing is appropriate for the goal that you are seeing for yourself. All right? And now, pagkatapos nun, nakapag-usap na kami ng coaches, then I will discuss already. Nasaan ka na ba? What's your experience? I will tell you na this should what we be doing and ito yung aayusin natin. And with the current, sabi mo nga, dahil nga nasa pandemic na tayo, it probably makes a whole lot things, let's say, easier. Kasi, for example, dito naka-conference tayo, naka-video conference tayo, it makes us connected better. Nakakatawa lang kasi ako naman medyo may issue sa wifi kanina. Pero it makes communication better for people, di ba? Mas makakapag-usap tayo ng mas maayos. And that's the result of adapting to the better normal. Let's call it hashtag better normal, di ba? It makes the better normal better for every one of us, di ba? Makakapag-usap tayo ng mas malaya. And then, we will start the strength and conditioning already. Probably, right now, kasi nga, wala pa available ng mga gym or wala pa mga available na for me, that's I will work with you together. Sa gym talaga tayo magtatrabaho. Alright? But, for first-timers na hindi pa talaga walang experience sa strength and conditioning, this is the best way to start. This is the best way to start kasi you can start with the fundamentals of strengthening yourself using your body weight. Kapag marunong ka na sa body weight mo, that will already help you perform better sa sports mo kasi it is supported unti-unti. Alright? So, and then so forth, once everything would be better, hopefully, katulad namin, magbubukas na kami sa October 5, then hopefully, we can get to the gym already so we can lift heavier, so we can reach higher goals for you for strength and conditioning. Alright? And then, we assess every season until we have set the proper periodization. Alright? So, doon mo nabanggit na yung periodization for athletes. Ganun siya. Yun po.
So, yung one thing that I'm hearing one thing that I parang yung main takeaway ko is the importance of communication as a coach. Kasi that's something that resounds with me. Like I always tell athletes na I'm not your coach just so I can, or my job as a coach is not just to tell you what to do. It's also to listen. Diba? So it's the part of coaching is the important yung back and forth. Na,
correct.
Kasi ang hirap rin, for example, for me as a coach, ang hirap rin na ako lang yung nagsasalita, tapos hindi mo alam kung ginagawa or na naiintindihan. And at the same time, ang hirap rin na kung ikaw yung coach na hindi maganda yung lines of communication nyo ng ibang coach. So ako, from personal experience, again, I personally work with athletes who have, let's say, their own strength and conditioning coach. And the important thing is may bigayan or may kasi compromise in a sense. Kasi kasi kung yung training program mo, it's supposed to peak at a certain time. Tapos yung strength and conditioning mo, hindi sasabayan yung pag-adjust ng load. Giving you rest when you need rest, or focusing on the let's say, focusing on power, focusing on strength at the right time. You won't be able to maximize the best of either paradigm. Yung isa pa siguro yung isang quote kasi na is very important is too many cooks spoil a soup. Diba? Pag masyado kang napakinggan din, ang hirap kasi each person will have their own approach. It's about,
Correct.
again, finding the approach that works for you and sticking
Mm-hmm.
to it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so again, the common thing that I hear about strength and conditioning is nagrereklamo yung
Mm-hmm.
mga endurance athletes or athletes in
Mm-hmm.
general na masyado kong sore, hindi na ako maka-workout after. Na,
Mm-hmm.
syempre, hindi mo maiwasan yung soreness. But let's
Exactly.
talk a little bit about how we can address that. Kasi ako, personal take ko as a coach is that it's something that is more pronounced at the start of a program, and eventually
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
once you adapt a little bit, medyo nawawala yung soreness to the point na you,
Yep.
di ba nga,
Yep.
yung ibang mga, again, yung mga volleyball player, they can lift, let's say, the
Mm-hmm.
day before a game, and hindi naman nila
Mm-hmm.
ramdam na on the game itself, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
who are starting out. Isang araw
Mm-hmm.
ka magbuhat, isang linggo ka masakit, di ba?
Alright.
So, let's talk a little bit about that. What can you say about soreness and yung
Okay.
feeling mabigat?
Alright. So, a lot of endurance athletes, totoo yan, yung sinabi mo na, for example, of course, with my experience, meron din mga swimmers, meron yung mga triathlete na nagvi-visit sa amin sa Sante Fitness Lab when we were normally operating back then. So, ang nire-report nila na kaya hindi sila nag-strength condition kasi nga bumibigat yung feeling nila or hindi sila sanay to that sensation na hindi ganito dapat ang feeling ko. Alright. So, number one, and lagi meron yung soreness nga. Number one, probably that we should be starting with is education. Okay? So, proper education and communicating to the person, to the central of everything. Merong siyang coach, meron akong strength conditioning coach, but who's the center? It's the athlete. Okay? Ngayon, with the athlete in you, you should probably educate them what they should be expecting. Yes, soreness is part of the strength and conditioning as much as what you do sa sports mo. Alright? It's just that kaya mas pronounced yung soreness when it comes to lifting, for example, kasi it's new to them. Okay? Basically, the lifting heavy, or lifting that is specific to what you're already doing as a triathlete, for example, is new to you. Alright? Dahil nga bago siya sa'yo, edi you'd really think about na this shouldn't be happening to me. All right? Dapat it already affects my performance. But if personally as a strength condition, hindi nagkukulang na ako doon na sasabihin ko na excuse me pero mamamaga ka sa mga susunod na araw, sa mga ganito may expect mo yan. But that is normal. All right? And the benefit of this strength and conditioning, syempre ito na yung medyo objective part, is that it should peak by 8 weeks. I think that's the same thing for endurance coaching, for triathlon coaching, and for other endurance sports. That by 8 weeks, kalimitan nagpipeak yung strength and conditioning. So it might feel mabigat, it might feel sore, but if it is already the right program, of course, the right coach, a good coach will tell you if it's the right soreness or if the soreness is really beneficial. All right? Dapat magtatagal lang ang soreness. Usually, tawag nga dyan DOMS. I think familiar marami dyan. Ang delayed onset muscle soreness. It just usually lasts from 48 to 76 hours, and after that, it should be gone. All right? And then, kalimitan, part of the education dapat, na sinasabi ko, and the expectation is the self-care of an athlete. So ano dapat ginagawa doon sa soreness na yun? Soreness is normal, hindi yung kalaban, because that's the response of the body towards changes. Alright? So dapat, anong usually sinasabi namin, within that 24 to 48 hours, you should be using cryotherapy or ice, simpleng ice. For example, we nag-strength and conditioning tayo, or kahit hindi strength and conditioning session, kahit nagba-bike session tayo, you usually use a lot of your hip, a lot of your thigh, a lot of your hamstring. You should be focusing using ice. All right? That's a very basic self-help that everyone or every athlete that should be doing. Just rub or just massage. Hindi to rocket science, di ba? Na dapat ginagawa na kasi ng atleta. Massage nyo lang. Use ice. Diba? Use it for 2 to 3 minutes. Rub it. Don't put it on one area lang. Rub it until matapos in 3 minutes. Do it 2 to 3 times a day. Then it will really help you a lot to lessen the soreness. Okay? So, if athletes would always say na, ayoko talaga kasi bumibigat ang katawan ko dyan sa strength and conditioning, I think it's unfair, alright? It's unfair to say na because it's all because of strength and conditioning. Number one, it's because nga education, and syempre, proper expectation that a strength and conditioning must give to the athlete being the athlete at the center of everything. So, hindi naman namin dinidishonor yung yung pain na naramdaman noon. Kumbaga, kaya siya may pain kasi nakaramdaman niya talaga, hindi naman nag-iimbento yung taong. Yun yung kalimitan ng ibang SNC coach na they're too hard on the athlete. So, being the athlete at the center, totoo yun, magreklamo yun kasi kung may nakaramdaman talaga. But then, education is key and immediate action na dapat alam ng athlete dapat ginagawa. Ganun po siya.
So ganito, people have this concept na no pain, no gain. Diba? When you talk about lifting, kasi ako sa sports, when it comes to running, there are workouts that shouldn't always feel tough or shouldn't always feel difficult, diba? Pero some people have this idea na pag hindi sumakit katawan ko, walang kwenta yung workout, or kapag hindi ako pagod by the end of the day, I didn't do my best, ganun. So, would you say that still applies to strength and conditioning? Or is that something that is, I guess, parang manufactured by siguro, common misconceptions surrounding strength and conditioning?
All right, I understand that. You no pain, no gain na yan. Well, of course, there's some truth to it, diba? Because change is painful, all right? But then, pain should not be a marker of improvement, diba? As every sports performance, as every sports training is central into. It's not a marker that you become better or you did something that will cause you improvement yung pain, diba? So I don't believe that kasi sa periodization program that we practice as strength and conditioning coach, di ba? We don't, as long as na-meet natin objective for that day, nag-lift tayo, nagawa mo yan, nabuhat mo yan, if it's painful or not, depending on your RPE, I think that's what you're doing as well, or the rate of perceived exertion, as long as that, yun lang ang na-reach natin, usually 8/10 lang, as long as the objective is done, then we're done. Kung madali yung para sa'yo, yung nabuhat mo, then better. Alright? Kung nahirapan ka, probably will help you push a bit more para ma-reach lang natin objective for the day. But again, pain shouldn't be the marker na nagawa natin yung objective natin or we saw an improvement dahil lagi masakit. So, a gain can happen even without a pain. But we're not promising, just to be transparent, we're not promising that it's a road of roses dahil training would always be hard for us to become better. Ganun po.
Siguro emphasis lang natin that, pain and difficulties, they're a part of it, pero they're not the goal. Yeah. The goal ultimately is to improve,
exactly.
Diba? Yes, pero
exactly.
Don't use, again, tama ka, you don't use it as a metric for gauging whether you gave your best or you had the best out of a particular
correct.
So, funny that you mentioned na important ang recovery or self-care. Kasi Sante Fitness Lab isn't just all about training, it's also about recovery. In fact, diyan unang nakilala yung Sims. I think wala ka pa noon nasa Ortigas pa. Ortigas pa yung setup noon. I'd go there for recovery. Kasi yung strength and conditioning, of course, again, ginagawa ko siya by my side of town, which is maybe 15-20 kilometers away from Ortigas back then. Pero yung recovery kasi it's something that's hard to do on your own. So now that things are before the pandemic, SFL has been a hub for recovery as well. Diba meron tayong mga what services did we have there again? Medyo nakalimutan ko lang.
All right. For Sante Fitness Lab, actually, syempre, our practice right now, lalo, we are called a lab. So, everything that we should do should be central data back using the recent evidences in our practice as professionals dito sa Sante Fitness Lab. So, when it comes to recovery, of course, we have a passive modality. We call it passive modalities because, let's retrace it back. All right? On recovery, rest is king. All right? Walang tatalo sa rest or proper sleep. No amount of supplement or no amount of passive modalities can match what a proper rest can do. Second, of course, is nutrition. All right. What you eat or what you feed your body right after the exercise would always be important for a person's recovery. All right. So that would be king. Kasi even with Sante Fitness Lab, we may have all the best technologies, we may have all the best practice, di ba? Na for to help people, but without those two important things, our therapy wouldn't be as effective. But pag nagawa mo yung two na yon, and our goal as dito sa Sante Fitness Lab is to offer premium service and of course to accelerate your recovery. Here's what we do. Of course, with our science-based practice, we do cryotherapy. Of course, cryotherapy, it helps in immediately lessening soreness into a body part para mas maging functional ka right away. Of course, we use compression therapy. So we use compression pants to make sure, lalo sa mga endurance runners to, I think you have experienced a few of them already, di ba? Na yung compression pants, it makes sure that your legs, specifically for runners or for marathons, for bikers, triathletes, daming leg work yan, it betters blood circulation in the area and make sure that to accelerate yung pagbaba ng soreness as well. All right? And then third also, for more passive things that we do at Sante Fitness Lab to accelerate recovery, sometimes we do yung dry needling. All right. Of course, we do percussive therapy. So when we say percussive therapy, we use vibrating machines to make sure na it also lessens right area wherever it is, for example, the shoulder, in your legs, and so on and so forth. And of course, we include them na magkakasama into our recovery services. But always, we call it our active physical, we focus on our active physical therapy service kasi we believe that recovery, proper exercise, proper loading, proper recovery exercises would always be king when it comes to proper recovery. All these modalities that we have will always be there, but of course, exercise and proper active recovery will always be king.
All right. So when you talk about these services, kasi they're more of reactive. Usually pag nagkaroon ka ng injury or nagkaroon ka ng strain or whatever, these are some things that you could do to help resolve that. But at the same time, these are also things that you could do on a regular basis so that maka-recover ka from the sessions that you've been doing, so that you could perform better, no? So
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about preventing injuries naman. So you mentioned how important strength and conditioning is to take care of your body. Can you tell us a little bit about it? And siguro may mga pwede akong tanungin about the most common injuries that a lot of endurance athletes go through. So first, how does strength and conditioning help prevent injuries?
All right. Okay. So there's a lot of studies already. All right. Siyempre, bilang into this practice already, our practice, we make sure that we base on the most recent evidence available. All right. So let's start with swimmers. So a lot of swimmers, there's a study by all right, I just can't recover it right now, but there's a study in 2016. It's a journal. It's a meta-analysis in which a lot of ginather lahat ng mga runners from first-timers to elite performers way back in 2016. It's a meta-analysis. A lot of RCT or mga randomized controlled trials na studies were gathered to make this very solid na systematized study, proving that for runners that there is a decreased tendency for them to have injuries because of a certain strength protocol. Hindi ko na i-delve in kung ano yung naging strength protocol na yun. But the idea is this: how the strength and conditioning works limits injury. Because number one, it makes your body and your muscles robust. Robust enough to make sure that whatever, lalo yung kapag tayo tumatakbo, for example, there's a lot of weight, internal and external factors that were coming, your body, your knee is absorbing weight, it must defend itself from other factors outside. And kung mahina ang katawan mo, if your muscles are not strong enough to defend the body, mas mabilis ka may injure. if you're not strong to stand on single leg, there's a tendency na madali ka mahuhulog. You'll be off balance. Maiba lang yung tapakan mo. So, yun ang number one na na use na strength and conditioning work is that it makes your body prepared for whatever situation in your sport. Let's focus in your sport so that mababa ang risk na magkaroon ka ng injury dahil matibay yung katawan mo. That's the very heart of it, okay? So for example, natakbo ka. Instead that your knee is receiving or your cartilage is receiving much of the tension or much of the load, anong nangyayari? The muscles around it, if properly strengthened with the right program, it will receive the load instead of the knee lang. Entirely, instead ng buto lang, may kasama muscle. So lesser risk of having worst comes to worst, yung osteoarthritis, or maybe worse, ACL, alright? Or maybe worse, magkaroon ka na napigtal na muscle or mga strain. So kapag matibay ang mga muscles mo surrounding the bone, surrounding a joint, or whatever, there's a lesser risk of you finding an injury. Lalo for runners, swimmers, and commonly, they have a lot of very common injuries, which usually occurring around a joint. Ganun po siya.
Okay, so yung from experience ko rin naman, ang nanonotice ko is that when you have a weak muscle, usually it manifests as tightness, diba? So when people complain about tight ang hips ko, tight ang, calf ko, ang ginagawa lang nila usually is that they stretch and stretch and stretch or massage and massage and massage, but they're not really addressing the underlying cause, which could be yun nga, dahil nga weak yung particular muscle na yan. And again, another problem that a lot of people encounter is muscular imbalance, diba? Weak yung sabi mo, one leg. Weak yung isang leg, nag-overcompensate yung isa, at nangyari, it becomes, I guess, a vicious cycle. Yung isa palakas ng palakas, isa pahina ng pahina, dahil mas tight siya, etc. Now, yung mahirap kasi then is that, again, if you're just doing it by yourself, mahirap maging honest when it comes to what you actually need to do, diba? You need a outsider's perspective, not to mention an expert's opinion when it comes to these things. Now, siguro, let's talk a little bit about two common injuries that people encounter. ITB. So first, ITB. What happens? Bakit ba tayo nagkaka-ITB and how do we resolve it?
Alright. So, common yung diagnosis actually ng mga, for example, dumediretso sa mga doctors or orthopedic doctors or sa mga rehab doctors na may easily madadiagnose ng ITB syndrome. Alright. So, latest data syempre tayo agad to be presented. Actually, ang sinasabi, that there's not really an ITB syndrome, alright? Because the ITB, iliotibial band, is a non-contractile tissue. Ibig sabihin, it's just a connective hindi siya muscle, alright? Hindi siya muscle. So what the real issue is, it's a syndrome of muscles on your thigh. Alright? Let's be being politically correct. I'm very sorry po. Okay? So, but for the IPTB syndrome, the common na nagiging issue doon is that correct yun. There is the muscle on your thigh are weakening compared to the other side. Alright? That the muscles on the other part of the same, for example, my right quads, the strength isn't at par to what my hamstrings are doing. Alright? The strength of my calves is not at par or we're able to help yung strength ng quads ko. Ibig sabihin, one thing or one way is shorter or one muscle or one part is weaker. Ganun lang yon yung ITB syndrome. One thing is weaker, one thing is shorter, yung muscle. But definitely, it would be a muscle because the ITB is a non-contractile tissue. Now, since familiar na tayo dun sa injury na yun, baka kasi mahina siya. That's why, as physical therapists, ano ang lagi namin nire-recommenda? Definitely, for example, ginagawa nga nila, nagpe-percussive gun sila. For example, nagfo-foam roller sila, nag-i-stretching sila. That's good. I have no issues with them using those or sa paggamit ng mga ganung tool. But again, as physical therapists, as performance physical therapists, I am always all for active physical therapy or active exercises to make sure that we address it properly. Kasi yun na nga, sana sinabi mo na rin, stretch ng stretch, parilis ng parilis, panidel ng panidel, pabaril ng pabaril, compression pants ng compression pants. But without proper physical therapy, and as what you said, without the right professionals, like you as a coach, hindi that could easily tell na baka kailangan mo ng PT kasi I've also experienced that. And as an elite triathlon athlete, na-experience ko din yan, you're the right resource person to refer to a physical therapist, or you're also the right person to help the athlete know or identify what does it feels like. Now, with the right physical therapist as well, will be giving you the right active exercises. Again, hindi sa amin, hindi yan, no amount of passive tool will be able to resolve that unless with the right physical therapist and the right exercise that would help you recover from that ITB syndrome. So to wrap it up, an ITB syndrome is there's a weakness and there's a shortening of a muscle. And the best way to do it is to actively exercise it, to actively strengthen it, and to actively lengthen it or stretch it out. All right, that's for the first injury.
So yung ITB, it's not like kunwari pag naka-ITB ka, it's not just one muscle. It can be a host of different muscles that can be the problem. So it's about identifying what causes ITB, 'di ba? Kasi feeling ko parang akala ko sa ibang tao parang ITB para yung kunyari para yung ubo, o pag may ubo ka, ito yung inumin mo. Diba? So you still have to assess ano ba yung cause kung bakit ka nagkakaroon ng ITB. Sige. So the next one is very common, plantar fasciitis. So and it's tendinitis. So yung dalawang yun kasi para magkalapit sila eh. Now, what do you think is the reason why a lot of people have these injuries? Okay. Kasi again, it's very debilitating for a lot of people.
Exactly. So yung plantar fasciitis, very correct, exactly. Very, very common for endurance athletes, triathletes, runners, distance runners, even sprinters, even actually swimmers, nagkakaroon sila ng issue with their plantar fascia. But from the name itself, plantar fasciitis, it's an inflammation of the fascia underneath your foot. And also, there's an inflammation of the muscles surrounding it. Bakit siya nai-inflame? Technically, it's just, at the bottom line, overuse. Okay? Because of the overuse of that area, and of course, because of, again, that part of the body is not robust enough to support the weight, to support the load that you're lalo sinasabi, kasi kaya ka nagkaroon ng plantar fasciitis kasi overweight ka. Kasi masyadong mabigat yung tama mo sa paa mo na ganyan. So, technically, it's an overuse because of so many factors. Probably it's the weight, probably because of the wrong running form, probably it's because of a weak muscle. It plays a lot of factor. And kapag nangyayari yung mga factor na yun, ang nagsasacrifice would be the fascia underneath it. Kaya namamaga siya. Na-overuse, hindi properly protected yung area, kaya namamaga. So it's debilitating kasi ang hirap itapak, ang hirap itakbo. Lalo sa atin bilang humans as well, as for our movement, it's important for us to walk, regardless kung atleta ka o hindi, di ba? So with that inflamed fascia that you have right now, the first key for us is to lessen the soreness. Alright? So usually, ibang mga doctors, they will also they will prescribe mga pain relievers. They will use this sa mga topical agents na ipupunas to relieve the pain. So, they might help temporarily, but exercise will always be king, like ko nga sinasabi. No? When you exercise it, including yung stretches, babanatin mo siya according to the right length and according to what phase ng pamamaga ka na. Kasi meron early phase ng pamamaga, meron late phase ng pamamaga. And there's the right way to stretch it out. And there's the right load of exercise for us to make sure that it will be slowly be strong enough for your daily activities. So, ganun din naman yun, mamamaga siya. And unless you don't observe a proper recovery, kung hindi ka nag-recover na maayos, magapa, tinakbo mo agad. So, hindi talaga gagaling din agad yon. But if you observe proper recovery, pag bumaba yung soreness, unti-unti ka namin tutulungan na itapak siya uli, palalakasin natin yung area para hindi na uli mauulit yung injury. Alright? So, we strengthen it to the right exercises, to right strengthening exercises. Alright? But the heart of it is to make sure na you are strong and on your feet. Ganun po siya.
All right. So, meron tayong question from one of my good friends,
Alright,
si
great.
Bea. So, what is better uh for runners, or I guess endurance athletes in general? Heavier weights with less reps, or mid-range but higher reps? So,
Yeah, I see it on the
of course,
screen.
I'm pretty sure hindi ganun kasimple yung sagot dyan, but maybe you could give us some insight as to what's the best
Alright.
approach.
Okay. Very, very timely yung naging tanong niya kasi recent evidence tells, all right? Recent evidence tells when it comes to strength and conditioning, 2018 new study, is that for runners, whatever kind of distance you're, whether sprinter ka, mid-distance, or distance runner ka talaga, explosive and heavier weights but lower repetitions will always be better than mid-resistance but higher volume. Gets? So, pasisimplihin natin for everyone. Mas mainam yung mas mabigat pero tamang exercise tapos mas onting repetition kaysa sa mababang bigat lang pero maraming ulit. Nagigets? So, ibig sabihin, magbubuhat ka nga ng 5 pounds ng maraming beses, ano na mangyayari sa'yo nun? Injury. Alright? Because that challenge is not enough to cause any change on whatever muscle you are training for. So, madaling sabi, let's put it to period. Recent studies suggest for runners, heavier weights, heavier resistance, lower repetitions, as long as correct yung exercise, will always be better than lesser weights and more volume. Ganun po siya.
I think yung problem kasi na nangyayari minsan is people think na endurance athlete ako, I need more reps kasi I'm building endurance.
Yeah,
Pero
yeah.
yun nga, it doesn't translate that way. Kasi when you talk about running in terms of endurance, how many steps do you take running 10K?
Correct.
And how many reps can you do? Diba? With
Exactly.
any workout, diba? So the logic doesn't hold water when it comes to that. But at the same time,
correct.
siguro something that I just need to point out rin is that, of course, if you're new to strength and conditioning, hindi na naman pwede mabigat kagad yung buhatin mo. Diba?
Correct,
Kasi,
exactly.
Kasi you have to, our body will learn the movement first. Diba? It needs to be comfortable with the movement. You need to be comfortable with the biomechanics of whatever workout you're doing. And then as you progress, then that's when you can start increasing the load.
And that where enters sorry. So
go ahead.
to interrupt. And that where enters the coaches, di ba? Kasi you'd always get a recommendation from me. Maririnig mo and you will quote me for it, di ba? For example, kung anyone na, sabi ng isang coach doon, heavyweight, so trinay ko, ayan, na-injure tuloy ako. But the problem is, that general recommendation is just general, all right? There's something that will fit perfect for you. There's this heavy load for you that might be light for another person, diba? So that's why, that's the importance of finding a coach, okay? There's this importance of finding the right strength and conditioning coach and sports coach, diba? Sige po, yun lang po.
Kaya sobrang exciting na rin once magbukas na rin yung Sante Fitness Lab kasi ang hirap naman mag-heavyweight sa bahay, diba? Exactly. Most of the time, you only have body weight exercises. But at the same time, it's better than nothing. So maganda, magawa mo na yung what you can do now para pag when things become more normal and open na yung gyms, especially Sante Fitness Lab, kahit papano you can hit the ground running.
Exactly.
As what they say, diba? So, yun, I think we covered a lot. Medyo nag-overtime pa nga tayo ng konti. Again, we're very, very thankful for your inputs. Of course, Clarice and Sir Joey, thank you as well for joining us. Now, siguro to wrap things up, I hear that Sante Fitness Lab is preparing for a reopening soon. Meron ba tayong dates or more concrete plans on when this will happen? Kasi I'm pretty sure ngayon after hearing Jack, may mga nagtatanong, saan ba yung Sante Fitness Lab na yan? And how do we get in touch? And so maybe
All
Clarice,
right.
you
I
could
think it's Miss Klang that is best to cover
yes.
on it.
Hi. Yes. So we're opening actually on Monday. That's October 5. So we are located at Ayala Vermosa Sports Hub along Daang Hari, Imus, Cavite.
All
So
right. So sige, so the Sante Fitness Lab is inside Vermosa, Cavite, which is very near Alabang. Di ba? Mga 10 minutes, 15 minutes away. Lalo na ngayon, wala masyadong traffic. And at the same time, it's gonna open on Monday. Tama ba? October 5.
yes, we're already open.
So, so ano yung protocol dyan? Would people just arrive at, or do they need to book a slot or, ano ba yung procedure natin ngayon?
Yes, good question. Yeah. So actually, we made sure that we prepared and adhered naman yung nilabas ni PTI and IATF na guidelines for opening gyms. And that includes yung managing the capacity ng ating facility. So at Cavite, it's MGCQ right now. So 50% lang siya. And how do we make sure na nagpa-comply kami doon? Meron kaming appointment booking system na in-implement. Also inside the facility, so meron ding proper spacing of the gym equipment, and there are a lot of signages and reminders for everyone para keep everyone safe.
I think maganda
So
kasi doon sa Sante Fitness Lab kasi sa sobrang laki niya, ang dali talaga mag-social distancing. So that's the nice thing about it.
Sige, so siguro just to promote also, no? What we've decided kasi is to create what we call as an holistic approach. Kasi we know that during this time, talagang because of the advent of COVID. So what we did is we came up with a package wherein bukod sa subscription nila for the gym usage, we'll be incorporating na rin yung mga products ng Sante Barley. Okay, kasi kailangan ng total nutrition, di ba? While they're using the facility, while they're taking care of themselves, di ba, sa strength and conditioning, so may proper nutrition na rin. So, ang ginawa lang namin with the packages we have, which is our normal package, nilagyan na rin namin ng mga products ng Sante. So, parang free products na yun for the people who will be using the facility.
Actually, yun nga yung nakakamiss rin. Hindi lang nakakamiss yung races, nakakamiss rin yung Sante Barley na dispenser na sa dulo ng races kasi talagang sobrang refreshing lalo na pag sobrang init at pagod ka. So I think a lot of people will appreciate that when they're working out in the gym. So how do they book an appointment? Through Facebook ba or do they have to call a particular number? Sige, Clarice, go ahead.
Through Facebook, we post naman our updates. So we have a link and a QR code na available doon for everybody to scan. So members or kahit yung mga guests, pwede kayo maka-access. And syempre bukod doon, tuloy din naman yung online services namin. So for that, so Facebook, you can also email us at inquiry@santefitnesslab.com.
All right, so again, you just have to search for Sante Fitness Lab on Facebook and dun mo na sila i-message and Clarice and the team naman will be more than willing to address the inquiries or inquiry@santefitnesslab.com. That's where you could send your questions or, at the same time, narinig ko meron special package ang Sante Fitness Lab. Diba? I think magkano ba na lang ngayon, Clarice, yung package na naka-sale?
Actually, ngayon, good news, meron kami reopening sale. Before, it's 3,500. Ngayon, 2,500 na lang for 1 month. Ang membership package namin. And it comes with a free 1 box ng Sante Daily C. So, 100 yun, na vitamin C. And yun, membership package includes gym access to the class. Something also that we are introducing right now is yung ating outdoor classes. Because we have the space, we can maintain social distancing, and yun, wala tayong magiging problema in terms of the ventilation. We can enjoy the outdoors because we are at Vermosa. So we have the outdoor classes.
That's perfect. So if you're concerned about working out at ayaw niyo pumunta sa gym, I think the best option right now, especially if you're in the south area, is to drop by Sante Fitness Lab. Saka again, we're waiting for Vermosa na lang to open the pool and the track oval, 'di ba? Para para at least kahit papaano kompleto. Kasi again, the venue is just so big that it's very easy to adhere to the IATF requirements when it comes to social distancing and load management. And again, it's something that I guess is a privilege that Sante Fitness Lab and Vermosa has during this time. All right, guys. So again, very I thank you for spending your afternoon with us, and again to our guests, Jack, Clarice, Sir Joey. Thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge, and of course, all the information that you imparted with us. So thank you for that. Now, siguro if may mga follow-up questions, you can just direct it to the Sandy Fitness Lab Facebook page or through the email address, which is again inquiry@santifitnesslab.com. All right, guys. So I guess that wraps up our extended afternoon session or afternoon live stream this weekend. And we really hope to see you guys soon in the races, in all the events, or even in just the gym. And what else are we going to do right now? The next thing we're going to do is, of course, take care of our body and work out. And Sante Fitness Lab can definitely help us with that. All right. And of course, Sante Barley Ren can help us with that. Right. Thank you guys. And I guess this wraps up our live stream. Stay safe and stay healthy, stay positive. We're gonna get through this very soon. See you guys.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Don. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Miss Clang.
Thanks,